Hey guys, it's King Fidd here. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm a multi-season Grandmaster Fiddlesticks main, and you can find my Grandmaster account from last season in the description below. And in this video, I am presenting 5 things every Fiddlesticks player should know. Now, this video is going to be for the newbies who are wanting to either pick up Fiddlesticks or have already tried him out but are struggling to win on him in solo queue. However, this video could still help out the people who already play Fidd, so if that's you, stick around for anything that might be useful. There's not much else to say, so let's get into it. And don't forget to subscribe if you like this video. The first thing people need to know about Fiddlesticks is how his fear passive works. His fear passive is on his Q, and his actual passive is his ability to place effigies. And effigies, by the way, do not sweep vision until level 6. Since his fear passive is on his Q, it won't work until you have a point in your Q, and its fear duration is based on what rank his Q is. And you can read the ability tooltip to understand exactly how the fear passive works. So if you read the tooltip, as everyone knows, you have to be out of vision of the enemy team, and you have to be out of combat for at least 2.5 seconds. This is something a lot of people miss while playing Fiddlesticks, is that they don't realize they have to be out of combat. So they'll be playing Fiddlesticks, and then they'll get hit by an ability and then quickly run out of vision and press R, and then they'll wonder why their ultimate didn't fear everyone. But it's because they were in combat and they were unable to proc the fear passive because of that. And also, if you fear someone, you cannot fear them again for the cooldown of his Q, but it does do double damage if you press Q on them. So you can use it if you're ganking a single person with your ultimate, and it does a decent chunk of damage. I would recommend you do use it. And also, fear passive does also work if he's pretending to be an effigy, but this is hardly ever useful, so I don't really use it in my games because it doesn't work with his ultimate, and most of the time people will like try to hit you to see if you're an effigy or not before you even get in range to use your W or E, which are the only abilities that can really take advantage of you pretending to be an effigy. One last thing is that his fear passive does still work and count him as not in combat if he is getting hit by a monster but not hitting it back. So that means if you're on an epic monster and the enemy team is contesting the objective like Dragon or Baron, you can just stop hitting it for a second and then channel your ultimate, and you will fear the enemy team with your ultimate if you just wait a second, because your ultimate channel is 1.5 seconds. So just waiting a second plus that 1.5 seconds channel will make you out of combat and you will be able to fear the enemy team. However, this does not work if you get slowed by the epic monster, which can happen with Ocean Dragon, Hextech Dragon, or if Baron uses its spit ability. But other than that, this can be really helpful in your games, and you can ult while taking an objective and fear the enemy team. Also, Fiddlesticks' ultimate does not fear unless he is out of vision at the start and the end of his ultimate channel. The second thing you need to know about Fiddlesticks is that you should be full clearing almost every game on Fiddlesticks. And yeah, this is assuming you're playing Fiddlesticks in the jungle, because that's his main role. I mean, I don't hate you if you play him in a role that's not jungle, but this is mainly meant for jungle Fiddlesticks players because that's his main role. The reason why you want to full clear almost every game is because he has a pretty weak early game, but he more than makes up for it with the insane power of his ultimate. His ultimate can like just change games at the press of a button, basically. So he has to compensate for it in some way by being like a weak early game duelist. So you just want to full clear and get level 4 and then get Scuttle Crab when it spawns every game. I usually start top side, then I'll path to bot. And the reason for this is because the enemy jungler usually starts bot side and then paths to top, and you'll be able to avoid them and get the free Scuttle Crab. Also, if you manage to get off a free early gank, which his ganks actually aren't that bad, even though he has low damage, he does provide a lot of crowd control, so you can easily get a kill early if you just walk behind the enemy laner who's pushed up too far and then maybe flash fear them and chain it with your silence, you can probably get a kill. Then if you do that, sometimes you'll have enough EXP and hit level 6 by the time you do your second full clear on the 4 camps that respawned, and you'll be able to gank bot lane and possibly pick up 2 kills with your ultimate at level 6. Also, I will usually start without a leash when I'm full clearing. This makes it so that the enemy jungler doesn't know where you started and is less likely to invade you, and lets your laners have prio by being in lane at the start of the game. And even though they removed double camps, Fiddlesticks' clear is actually still pretty fast and very healthy, so you do not need a leash at all. If you struggle clearing quickly on Fiddlesticks, then I would recommend watching some YouTube videos. There's a lot of clear videos. You can even full clear by 304 if you clear properly. Clearing is, I kind of view it as like speed running. Every second can help you avoid like an invade or maybe gank a lane faster. So it's really important to practice your clear on Fiddlesticks. The third thing I want to go over is that Fiddlesticks' power peaks in the mid game. And by mid game, I mean around 1 to 2 items. Specifically, I'd say his power peaks at level 13 because by then you have your max fear duration, rank 2 ultimate, and should be at around 2 items. Around this time, you can set up vision around Baron and either play to bait the enemy team into a bad fight at Baron, or catch them off guard whenever you see them start Baron. Also, you can play for dragons and spam ping your team to set up vision before every dragon fight, so you can get off a huge ultimate every fight. There's also 2 different combos you want to use when ulting with Fiddlesticks, and I'll show you those right now. The first one is to ult into Q, chain the fear in with your silence, and then rocket belt into chase the enemy and then finish them off with W. This combo is for ulting single targets or trying to kill a high priority threat in a teamfight. This combo ensures that you get as much damage on this single target as possible, and make sure you do not stop the W too early because that could give them the opportunity to run or flash away. When you're using your ult on multiple targets and want to get off as much damage as possible on them, then you simply just want to R plus W, then maybe follow it up with an E or your rocket belt afterward. Make sure you don't let the game drag on too long, or else the enemy team will build a lot of magic resist items such as Force of Nature, Banshee's Veil, or QSS, which will make it harder for you to get off impactful ultimates in the late game. The fourth thing every Fiddlesticks player needs to know is how to build. Sorcerer's Shoes is what you should rush every single game, and you should be able to buy it after full clearing and taking a Scuttle Crab if you take Futures Market. The reason is because Sorcerer's Shoes gives you more damage on your full combo than a Hextech Alternator, and it also gives you the movement speed to run around the map faster, which makes up for Fiddlesticks' lack of mobility, and sometimes you can even run down the enemy laners and fear them thanks to the movement speed diff. As far as mythics go, I usually go Hextech Rocket Belt every game, but Leandries and Night Harvester are still good options as well. But one thing I do want to mention is that I don't think Fiddlesticks has to build Zhonya's second every game. A lot of games, if I see that I haven't used my stopwatch yet, I'll go ahead and build Shadow Flame or Void Staff as my second item, depending on how much magic resist the enemy team has purchased. The fifth thing every Fiddlesticks player needs to know is to be patient. And by being patient, I really mean this in 2 different ways. The first way is to be patient while learning how to play Fiddlesticks. He's a character that feels very different from the rest of the League of Legends roster, so it can take a while to learn him even though he is not mechanically difficult, because he has a lot of different aspects to his gameplay that can take a while to learn. It can take a while to learn all his ultimate spots, all the angles he can ult from, play around enemy vision, when is it worth it to ult, when should you just not use your ult and maybe just use your basic abilities and save your ult for something more important later. There's a lot of decision making that goes into playing Fiddlesticks, so he's not an easy character despite seeming like one. He even has some advanced mechanics like the RW Flash combo, which you can find a video on in my channel. The other way of being patient, as I mentioned earlier, is in-game when you're playing Fiddlesticks. A lot of the time when you're playing Fiddlesticks, you can fall behind early, but as long as you do your best to use your ultimate properly and create comeback situations for your team, you can win games as long as you're not like 0-30 at like 10 minutes. Also, try not to be too trigger happy on your ultimates. While you do want to make sure you get stuff done with your ults as Fiddlesticks, if you use them in situations where it's not guaranteed to work, you can end up wasting it a lot of times, and that can end up being worse than if you had never used it in the first place. For example, a lot of players, including myself, will try to ult in to save a teammate, but will end up dying with them instead. Even as a high elo Fiddlesticks main, I still look back at some games and see situations where I could have won if I had been more patient and gotten off a better ult. But with enough experience on Fiddlesticks and patience in game, you can even end up with a perfect ultimate combo that results in you getting a pentakill. That's all for this video. Please like and subscribe and comment below on what other videos you want to see.